Check it out. It's the Laugh to Learn podcast. What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the Laugh to Learn podcast. My name is, as always, Jacob Paveo, and I come to you from the Great White North each and every Wednesday afternoon, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Fresh for you to download to listen to the entire world over. You can listen to me at work, on your way home from work, on whatever podcasting platform you want. And speaking of, I open every show by calling it the Great White North. I actually woke up to snow today, and the dog was outside a little while ago. The sun is up now. Well, kind of. But the snow's still here. It's supposed to melt by mid-afternoon. But yeah, winter is upon us. Winter is not coming. It has arrived. And it came quite quick because I was wearing shorts and a T-shirt about a week ago. It was kind of nice outside, actually. So things change quickly. Big news for the podcast this week. I don't usually like putting things like this in it because, let's be honest, most people either fast forward or just leave the podcast. But we charted for the first time. We appeared, it was actually 3 weeks ago. We showed up on the Canadian and the Swedish comedy interview charts for Apple Podcasts. So thank you so much for checking the show out over there in Canada and Sweden, all over the world. Thank you. It's really tough. Like, American charts are crazy tough to break into. Canadian charts are too, though. So I was pretty hyped. I mean, as an English language podcast, I really only expect to chart in Canada and the US, maybe the UK and Australia if something really big happens that people are interested in. But, I talk about the West. I talk about Canada. I talk about the US. Obviously, I don't know why I'm charting in Sweden, but thank you for checking it out. It was really cool to see that. But yeah, so one thing I was saying to a friend just yesterday, I never ever thought that I would be seeing my names on any sort of iTunes chart. So that was cool. And I didn't even know it happened because the charts only show there's only 300 spots, right? So it's the top 300 podcasts. And you need to be somewhat popular to be showing up on them. So especially to stay on them, right? Like, you need really high, really consistent numbers. And yeah, I basically got an email that was like, hey, congratulations. Saw you were charting, here with like a picture of myself on the chart. And, of course, I didn't read the email until later on in the week, and then I wasn't charting anymore. I never look at the charts. I don't even really look at our download numbers because it's kind of like one of those weird things where you're happy about it when the numbers go up, but then, like, the next time your numbers go up, if they don't go up as high, you're kind of like, eh. And so I learned before even doing this show back in early days of YouTube, really, I learned to not really look at the numbers in that way. It's more the reaction you're getting and some awesome reviews. Thank you so much for people who are posting reviews. I found a service for me that actually gathers reviews from all different sources. Because, like, if you leave a review on your favorite podcasting platform, like, that's awesome, and I'm super hyped about that. But if I don't use that platform, I don't see the review, right? I don't know that it's there. But I did find a platform that kind of amalgamates from all these different podcasting services. So I was like, oh my God, like, I have like a lot of reviews. I thought I had like 5 or 6 reviews all time. I'm like, whatever. But no, like, I actually have a few dozen reviews. I'm averaging like 2 reviews a month basically since we've started, so that's pretty sick. So thank you. If you haven't done so already, leaving a review on the podcast is awesome. I'm doing my best. I've read all of them now, and I'm sorry if I don't see yours because you're posting it on a platform that maybe I don't use, but you're definitely helping me by posting it there, because it really seems like that's what launched us onto the iTunes chart, was how well the shows did for during the Canadian election in September, and then that momentum kind of pushed us through into October. So thank you all for that and for all your support. Side note, if you've used the contact page on the website, I just noticed that it was broken and it was diverting to some random email account that is not mine. So I reached out to the web people and had that corrected. And I asked if I could get a history, but that they don't store that information. And unfortunately, like, I have no idea. It was like literally, it was just a random email account that all of those messages, if any, for all I know, like went to. And I don't know how long it's been like that. So I know it was working, and then at some point it stopped working and this thing changed. So shout out to the guy who's been getting my emails. I hope he's been replying to you, or she, or some other pronoun. But if they have been replying to you, it's not me. For certainly, they said it's been at least 3 months like this. So maybe longer. But if you've sent messages to me or whatever using the contact page and you were like, that's weird, he never got back to me, send me the message, send it now, and I am certain now that they're going to come to me. So sorry if that inconvenienced anyone. Speaking of inconveniences, we are going to be talking about the extreme gas prices around the world, but I'm going to specifically talk about them here in Ontario. So there are 2 stories to cover. The first one is, of course, we have an upcoming provincial election. Who's excited? Y'all know I'm excited, but we are now about 8 months out from that election. I've already been seeing commercials on TV. The Conservative Party has posted a bunch of commercials. Seems a little bit early, in my opinion, because remember, they can only spend a certain amount of money on the campaign, and these are included in that. So these are commercials funded by the Conservative Party. This is the reason why we don't see political ads from candidates always, because let's be honest, the major parties would just always be on TV. But campaign ads have really strict rules, so you're not allowed to spend. You're only allowed, rather, to spend a certain amount of money, and they've already started. So we'll see how that does. But this is a story from CP24, who I've actually never used CP24 to do a story, so I realized that this morning, and I was like, hey, this is from Chris Fox over at CP24, and it's pretty good, so we're going to jump into it. He writes, Premier Doug Ford says that his government still intends to stick to a campaign promise to reduce the cost of gas by 10 cents a liter, even with the next provincial election now 7 months away. Shortly after his government assumed office in 2018, Ford scrapped the cap-and-trade system in Ontario, which he says dropped the price of gas by 4.3 cents per liter, but the move prompted the federal government to impose carbon tax on the province almost immediately, effectively wiping away those savings. Since then, Ford has not taken any steps to reduce the price of gas further, despite costs skyrocketing at the pumps during the COVID-19 pandemic. Ford said, quote, "We are going to keep our promise of the 10 cents. I just wish the federal government would fall in line as well. We are reducing costs, and they keep jacking the costs up." End quote. The average price of regular gas in Toronto hit $1.47.9 as of midnight Wednesday, according to Canadians for Affordable Energy President Dan McTeague. And he goes on from there to talk about some stuff we're going to talk about in the next story. So if you want to read on, again, that's from Chris Fox at CP24. Now, real interesting, because right now, if you live in Ontario, you are talking about gas prices. This is the conversation. That's kind of why I wanted to do this episode, honestly, is I think people will actually really care about this, because people are sitting here at home saying, like, what the hell? Like, our gas prices have gone crazy. And it's super important to note that before the pandemic started, I was paying, like, I was commuting to work, right? I'm working from home still, so I don't have to deal with that. But I was paying between $1.20 and $1.30 per liter. And it would fluctuate, obviously, throughout the year, whatever. But that was basically where it sat. $1.30 was really expensive and rare. $1.20 was more like the norm. And then the odd time, especially in the summer, you could catch, like, $1.15 or like $1.10 was like, holy. But that typically was between around, I'd say around $1.20. That's what I'll stick with. And as I mentioned this morning, those costs have gone up to just shy of $1.50. And I know some folks who live north of here, and obviously the further north you go, the more expensive gas prices are. And in Northern Ontario, when I say north of here, I mean like really north of here. And right now the prices in Northern Ontario, I've heard, are above $1.60 and approaching $1.70 in some places, which is extremely expensive. And the question people are asking is, how? How is this happening? What caused this? And so to get that answer, or to get some of that answer, I went and continued looking into the president of Canadians for Affordable Energy, Dan McTeague, because he really seems to have the reasoning wrapped up. And he sat down, this was an interview published on October 29th. He sat down with Anthony Vasquez-Petty of CTV News. And that is where this story comes from, where Anthony writes, "The price of gas appears to be on a trajectory to approach $2 per liter in some parts of Canada within the next 13 months, according to Dan McTeague, president of Canadians for Affordable Energy. A combination of rising oil prices, the state of the Canadian dollar, provincial taxes, and the federal government's clean fuel standards, which comes into effect December 1st, 2022, could result in gas stations advertising prices higher than a toonie." He points to a statement from BlackRock, the world's largest asset management company, who said this week at a conference in Saudi Arabia there's a high probability of oil reaching $100 a barrel. Oil is currently hovering at around $84 a barrel. McTeague said, quote, "I think $100 a barrel is not unthinkable, and it is quite likely to be through 2022. So that would add to the average price in Canada, which is about $1.47. That would add probably 18 cents a liter. So now you're in the $1.65 range. You have to add the federal carbon tax of 2.21 cents plus HST, so that's an additional 2.3 to 2.4 cents. Then you have on top of that the clean fuel standard. So now you're up to about $1.82 or $1.83 a liter just to get the cost at $100 a barrel. So that is the standard price to expect in Canada by reaching $100 a barrel and including the new federal mandate, which is the clean fuel standard. They continue, British Columbia and Newfoundland and Labrador. Oh yeah, 'cause that's so weird to say, but technically Newfoundland and Labrador is the name of the province. So British Columbia and Newfoundland and Labrador, which records some of the highest gas prices in the country, according to McTeague, could see staggering numbers. You can see a scenario playing out where we get awfully close to $2 a liter in those regions, with average prices in Canada probably at a minimum $1.75 per liter. They go on to say that, of course, a fifth wave of COVID would see, or a economic recession could also really hurt these numbers. And I want to make a note here. So they talk about BlackRock with the $100 a barrel prediction, and they are one of the most famous companies in finance. They are the world's largest asset management company. They're also responsible for some market analysis tools they have developed, which are taught to every single business student. There's a lot. There's a solid reason to expect that to happen, which means at the very minimum, we're talking about prices averaging $1.75 a liter in Canada by December of next year. So that's in 13 months. Now, Doug Ford is, of course, talking about doing his best to remove, he said initially, he wanted to remove 10 cents per liter. It's important to note that right now the Ontario government gets 14.7 cents per liter for the Ontario fuel tax, as well as 13% HST, which at $1 is 13 cents a liter. So it's even higher than 13 cents right now. So 14.7 to the fuel tax and roughly 15 cents as well going to HST at the moment. It would be really easy for him to decrease the Ontario fuel tax. The problem is that the province right now can't afford to do that because of the pandemic. So I'm not sure what he's going to do because they really need this income right now. And unfortunately, with the climate discussions happening right now, there's a major climate accord in Europe. They are sitting down literally as we record this podcast and discussing all, most global leaders are together going over this. And that brought to me a really staggering contrast. And I don't use the word staggering lightly because we're at a point in time where a lot of people are hammering down on green movements, responsible climate action, and making these changes, while people are hammering down against the increased cost of fuel. And it's unfortunate that the two things can't coincide, but they simply can't. The idea of raising fuel prices is to convert the market to green energy. Now, right now, there are a number of green vehicles, hybrid and fully electric, that are really good on the market. Unfortunately, as someone who lives in Canada, I don't have a heated garage, and because of that, battery-operated vehicles are not quite great, let's say, in the cold. They're just not. They perform very well. Like Tesla's on-road performance is great, but the batteries themselves drain so much faster, so much so that the only way I would be able to commute to work with a fully electric vehicle every day without charging every single day would be to have a double battery long-range vehicle. So Tesla has those upgrade packages, and basically I would have to buy like $100,000 car. All of the other brands, Chevy, they don't have a single vehicle that I could do 2 days with. Even buying a second battery, what's called Polar or whatever, and Rivian, there's not enough information on their batteries working in the cold. So it's kind of like, yeah, I'm down with this change, and I think it's necessary. I'm also, even with my commute and everything, like, I'm not really in a position where, like, gas going up to $2 a liter, like, I work from home. Even if I start going back to work a few days a week, it's kind of like, it's not going to change my life. But a lot of people, this literally will change their life. This is double the price of gas in roughly 4 years. We're basically doubling the average price, in some regions at least. That's crazy. That's how people get to work. That's their commute, right? What's the cost of transit going to be, right? If you take a bus every day to work or to school, that cost is going up. It is. It's absolutely going up. It might only be a quarter every time, 25 cents, but it's going up, and 25 cents a day to someone who can't afford a car, that's why they're taking the bus to work every day, or they can't afford gas or insurance, whatever the case may be, it's going up. All of these related costs are going up. And the cost of living here in Canada is already astronomical. It's ridiculous at a global standard. It is very expensive to live here. And with the cost of gas increasing to an average of $1.75 in the country, we might become one of, if not the most expensive country to live in the world. That's scary. That's something that you don't want to be. That is not a good thing to be. And unfortunately, there really is no solution. Like, Doug Ford he's already reduced gas by 4.3 cents per liter. He has to do an additional 5.7 cents to reach his 10-cent mark. I have a feeling he's going to take it out of the Ontario fuel thing, or maybe take it out of HST or something like that, because this close to an election, for him to make that statement, it means he has a plan and he's going to do it. But it's going to be almost useless with this major increase on the cost of gas coming. Furthering my concern here, I already talked about how electronic vehicles perform here in Canada. There's always the option for hybrid vehicles, right? And at this point, if battery technology doesn't improve, I'm probably going to end up buying a hybrid vehicle. The thing is that I need this before next December, and right now, not sure, we haven't actually talked about it on the show, but you may be aware, you can't get silicone-based chips, silicone-based microchips, which every single car needs, and every electric car needs specialized versions of. You can't buy these cars right now. You can't buy them brand new. You can buy them, you just don't get your car. You can go and make your deposit, and you'll get your car next year, hopefully. Literally, that's what they're saying, is hopefully 2022, some of these cars will start rolling off the lot. GM is only running 2 production shifts, and they are parking the cars, which are unusable, in massive parking lots, waiting for people to go around and install these chips in them. General Motors is doing that. So you think they're going to favor putting chips in hybrid and electric vehicles, which kind of sell, against, their Sierra, the trucks, the Corvettes, and cars like that? Like, no, GM is going to favor the cars that sell, which are not the hybrid and electric cars. The only company with electric and hybrid cars that sell the most are electric car companies, right? So it's going to be so hard to get these vehicles, which is the whole reason that we're increasing these prices in the first place, is to get people to convert. The problem is, like, I am someone who is literally telling you, I'm in a position right now, like, I already own my car. I have, like, I don't know, like a year or 2 left on it or something like that. Basically, at this point, I can sell my car and make enough money to pay off the whatever is left that I owe on it, and have money for a deposit on a new vehicle. Like, I'm in that position with my car now, which is a pretty cool place to be. It's pretty great, let me tell you. But, like, I have all the means of acquiring an electric or a hybrid vehicle. Unfortunately, I can't. You can't get them. So we're raising the price of fuel in order to convert people to electric vehicles and, solar panels on their house, this thing and that thing. Right now, you cannot buy an electric vehicle. You can't buy a new one, at least. And so that doesn't improve the market. Selling old electric vehicles, just moving them around, doesn't remove fuel cars from the market. You need electric and hybrid cars flooding the market. And that's just not happening, so it doesn't solve the problem. And now this is because of a microchip issue, which, it's unrelated to... It's not unrelated, but it appears to be unrelated to any of this. The problem is, that's the solution. We need to be able to press microchips. Do you know how much friggin' energy it takes to do that? A lot. That's why they do it in China. That's why they can just press all day and all night, because they're not worried about emissions. So it's just this odd situation to be in, where I'm looking at it and I agree with the rule. I think, like increasing gas prices to wean people off gas-powered cars or solely gas-powered cars and move towards hybrid and fully electric vehicles, it makes sense. It's so clear that that's what the future is going to be. They're so much more efficient. There's so much less damage to the road. They're safer vehicles, statistically speaking. Automated driving is basically being worked on for all of them. And in that case, vehicles that drive themselves are like 98% safer or something crazy like that. It's almost, 98% accident free, not 98% safer. It's like 3 million % safer. When a computer is driving you, it's just insane. It just is. And so when you look at that and where we're going, it's like, I agree. And we have the same thought in mind. And these sorts of rules are really important. But a crazy thing happened in the world, not to do with COVID, but to do with the manufacturing and the demand of these microprocessors, or microchips rather, that all of a sudden your plans need to be updated. But because of political, what's the phrase? I suppose political necessity, the Canadian government cannot roll back this time, or push forward, I should say, roll forward this timeline. And because of that, it doesn't make sense. The rule, and not the rule, but the timing of the rule doesn't make sense, because we, as citizens who are operating within this market, cannot go out and purchase the vehicles required to avoid buying gas. We can't do it. Even if you want to, you can't get them. There are not enough to fill that hole in the market. And that really concerns me. It really does. Because we really can't have it both ways. We can't both have low gas prices and decreased greenhouse emissions. Everyone understands that. The problem comes with the solution and the timing of the solution. And this is such a complicated issue. Could you imagine Trudeau or Doug Ford coming out and trying to explain this on television? No. I'm 28 minutes in, and I'm hoping that I've explained it well enough for people to understand what's going on. And I have a podcast where I can talk about and say whatever I want. They have to find a way to say it in sound bites. And they can't. So that's why this rule will not change. And you can go and ask politicians like, I understand the rule, but we can't buy electric cars. And they'll say, well, you can buy used ones. And then which is honestly an answer that I saw from an American politician. But that doesn't change the market. Like, yes, I can go buy a used Tesla, let's say. They're still quite expensive. But yeah, I could go buy a used Tesla. The problem is that that's not bringing it's not helping reduce fuel emissions in the province, or in the country rather, if I'm buying it from someone else in the province or the country. Because unless I'm importing it from somewhere else, which is very difficult to do, There's no difference. Like, if you and I swap vehicles, you have an electric car, I have a gas car, we didn't suddenly reduce emissions. And they're kind of trying to spin it as if, like, that's the solution right now. So, yeah, it might be the solution on a personal level, but it doesn't reduce emissions in any way, shape, or form. We need new hybrid and electric vehicles rolling down the streets, brand new ones. That's the only way to achieve the lower fuel emission standards that they are reaching for with this legislation. And I really would like to hear someone actually talking about that issue. Someone who, like a politician I'm talking about, who actually matters, who can come forward and say, I get, like, even if it's the federal government and they're like, we're locked in, we understand, and then maybe they start doing all they can to help bring in new electric vehicles for sale. Like, they remove some import tax on companies that are trying to bring electric vehicles into the country. Like, that would be a great step. But oh my God, we can't reduce taxes on corporations, can we? Nope. That's not an option. We have to only reduce taxes for people. Well, guess what? You're increasing taxes on people. This is a significant increased tax on people. But because you don't call it a tax, people just, I guess, believe you. They say, okay, sounds good. And it's just wrong because it's not addressing the issue, which is, how do we get more electric vehicles on the road when no one is able to produce an electric vehicle right now? And unfortunately, I don't have the answer for that. Thank you so much, though, for tuning into the show this week. I hope you garnered some useful information from it. Thanks for sticking out to the end. If you have yet to do so, hit the subscribe button on your favorite app. Leave a review, whether you just hit the stars or the thumbs up or the thumbs down or whatever the case may be. It means a whole lot. If you add some words, I will read those words, and I will, even if it's, if it's bad, if I'm like, whoa, I'll still read it. I might just be like, you wrong, but okay. And then pull the old, try to delete it. I'm just kidding. I wouldn't actually go through and bother doing that, I don't think. Actually, no. There's no way that I would. I don't have that kind of time in my life. So thank you so much. I've already said all that stuff. You guys know where to find me. All my links are in the description for the show, down below or at the side, wherever the description happens to be on your preferred podcasting app. And I have to go. So, once again, I would like to thank you, bid you adieu. I will be back next Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Keep on laughing and keep on learning.